Welcome to Eagle Spire Gaming. I'm your host, Crown, and today is November 25th, 1 month away from Christmas, and we are building our Mechanicum Battle Group army list. That is where we are going to take the battle group. We're going to buy a few other things. We're going to need to add a few more things to our collection, and we're going to make a list using just that, trying to use everything out of what we get. And this is going to be a little bit different than when we did this with the when we did it with the Auxiliary and the Legions Astartes, though, because when we did it with those two, we already had a whole bunch of other stuff for those factions, and as of today, there's still, it's supposed to be coming. We know that there's going to be tanks, and we know that there's going to be stalkers, which will allow us to make this battle group into Dark Mechanicum, and kind of do a little mix match of both, because you'll need to if you want to use everything. We can't do that with this one yet. So instead, we are going to do what we did originally, and take that battle group and add it to the starter set. And we're going to do that, and we're going to add one more little thing in there, and we're going to have ourselves a 3,000 point list. It's going to come out to 2,999. But before we go into any of that, I do want to say, if you like this content, please subscribe so you can get some more. We'll be doing more battle reports, and if you like this video, leave that thumbs up. And if you got anything to say, comment below. Love to hear it. But let's talk about the right way to make a Mechanicum battle list, army list, because what we're about to do today is not going to be right at all. It is going to be efficient, cost efficient, but it's not going to be right. And the reason for that is Mechanicum is it's a little bit different. The formations are kind of particular. And this battle group, having just a battle group, is really kind of it's interesting because you don't have doubles of anything. We could buy 2 battle groups, and you absolutely should, but we're not doing that for this because you probably already have a starter set. You probably have a lot more than that you're able to use, but let's assume that you went starter set and then battle group. The right way to do this is really you need to have a second infantry box, or what we kind of know is going to be an infantry box, which would come in that battle group, but we don't want to do that. It's not out yet, and you need that so you can have more HQs. You need more Archmagos, either on Aberrants or off of them, but you need them so that you can get, well, one formation that you want to have is going to be the Cybernetica cohort, right? And you want one of those because it extends your Cortex controller range from 9 out to 12. And that's pretty useful, especially when you consider how much of your stuff needs that in order to have all of the options available to it. Now, you can absolutely run it without ever using those other options. And Cortex controller, Cybernetic Cortex detachments, they only have 2 orders available to them. Sometimes it's advance and first fire, or advance and charge, or charge and march. There's a bunch of different options depending on what the detachment is. And if you really want to be able to do whatever you want, you need them to be in Cortex controller range, and that's either going to be our Tech Priest or our Archmagoses for right now, and this formation extends that. Or you just have to really plan out how you're going to do everything and know that that unit can't march. That unit can't charge. They're just going to have to rely on guns, and they're going to have to rely on advances, and you plan out like that. Cortex Cybernetica cohort extends that range out. And we only have 4 controllers right now with 1 battle group. You need another infantry box to keep that going, to spread that out more. Or you can do it with you need other boxes, or you need to use the cohort formation, the support formations. You need something, and we don't have that. We're not going to be using that in this list. So I would say one of those is pretty good thing to use. You're going to really be able to leverage a lot with it, right? And then you either want 2 Tagmata sub-covenants or 1 Ordo Reductor subdivision so that you can split out your Thanatars. Because your Thanatars come with, you get 8 of them in this box, and they come with 2 different loadouts. The box they come in is also going to have 8 of them in it, and again, you're going to be forced to have 4 and 4. And it's a different gun, and you kind of don't really want to be split. It's like putting a bunch of the twin-link las cannons, the turrets on your Malcadors, and then also having at the same time the Vanquisher cannon or the battle cannon. You wouldn't really use that. You don't want to split your guns like that. It's kind of nasty and doesn't really. It gives them the wrong targets, and but you need those bastions to split them. So you either need that, and if you do one cybernetic cohort and one ordo reductor subdivision, you don't have enough of the rest of the formations so that you can put in your all the rest of your stuff in. And 2 Tagmata sub-covenants would be nice to use, but you can't. With this box, you can't even do that because you need to have 2 detachments of your minimum sized, at least, Thanes, not Thanes, the Tectorals, which Thane is kind of a similar word too. Other games kind of have the same thing, right? I think. I don't know. And you only get 10 of those, which is a slightly larger unit, and the small one is the only way to really do that, or you can do a big one depending on where you put them. But yeah, if you want to have that sub covenant, cohort covenant, you're gonna need all of your tech thralls for that. So the right way is 2 battle groups. And then you can either ally in Marines or your auxiliary, so that you can get some tarantulas and or get some aircraft. Because you don't have any anti-aircraft, nothing really dedicated to it with these guys, and you don't have any aircraft with these guys yet, right? Stuff is probably coming eventually. It's not in this book. None of that is in this book yet. So you'll need to, they'll need to have another book before we can get any of that. So it's going to be a ways away, at least probably, 6 months? I think they've been coming out every 6 months. The other option is still 2 battle groups, but you wait around and see what the future releases give you. And, because we know that there's going to be tanks, we know that there's going to be the stalkers. So stuff is coming. It's just going to take a while. So before we get into this list, though, today we're doing it the wrong way, kind of. Because we're going to try to make a list where we are using everything that we got, and that's going to mean that we're allying in quite a bit of stuff, and we're going to be using some Titans. And Titans are not point efficient. They're fun to use, though. They're fun to play, and if you play with them right, they can be they do more work than if you play with them wrong. Let's be honest there. And we can use a whole bunch of them when we're playing with Mechanicum. So we're gonna be doing that. So we're allying in like 800 points of other stuff, and we got 1100 points of Titan. So fun stuff. So let's look at what do we have here in this box. What's going on? We've got 2 Archmagoses. You can build them on or off the Aberrant. For the purpose of this list, I just put them on the Aberrant because it's kind of cool. They're beefier, they look cool. You'll need to get more later just so that you can have them off of it, whatever. But what are these guys, let's compare these to something. They got a shorter range, but they are faster, stronger, and tougher than Marine commanders, the equivalent. They cost a little bit more when they're on their Aberrant. And they've got some anti-tank weaponry to them, right? They got some melta weapons going on. So that's kind of cool. Tougher because they got more wounds, they got a better save, and they get a better invulnerable save. Marine commanders have a 6-up, they have a 5-up. Then we got the Tech Thralls. We're moving into the core units. We got Tech Thralls. They've got worse guns and a worse cap. They've got a -1 calf. So they are worse than auxiliaries. They cost the same as the auxiliaries, and you're probably wondering, why do they cost the same if they're so much worse? Otherwise, their stats are the same. Their movement and their armor save, a 6, so they have nothing whenever you hit them with -1 AP. They don't suffer any morale, which is kind of nice, because if you want a big blob of something, if you want to put these guys in maxed out blobs, that's great, because when you kill 5 of them, I'm not rolling morale. They have no morale. You don't roll it. It doesn't exist. So put them in there, use them as a horde of zombies to go forward, or leave them in the back to guard something. They're not going to be effective on morale. Cool. You get 10 of them in the box. Unfortunately, that's the only 10 we have access to until we get another battle group. And we'll make a list for that later. But right now, we're trying to just, what we got, let's make it work. Then we also have Thalix cohorts. These are kind of cool. You get 8 of them in this box, and you only need 2 for a detachment. So you get 4 detachments of them, if you wanted it to be spread out as thin as you could go. They are more expensive than Space Marines, than your tactical Marines, but they are faster. They have better range. They have more firepower in general, and all of their weapons are light AT, so all of their weapons can hurt tanks. They have a worse CAF, worse combat than tactical Marines, but at that point you're shooting them before they get to you. So, and they're faster, and they got jump packs, so they can kind of they got a lot of range. Moving on to support, we're getting 2 Arlatax machines guys. They've got better CAF and speed and wounds than Dreads. They do cost more though, and their weapons are all light AT. Their weapons aren't really better or worse. They're different weapons, right? Like, they don't have an anti-tank gun. It's kind of hard. I didn't really want to say, like, oh yeah, their guns are just worse, because they're not really the same guns, right? And a lot of this stuff, they're not a one-to-one comparison. I'm just trying to compare it to something to give you an idea of it. I'm not going to read off the entire stats. I just took a few quick notes, right? We get 4 Castellix. These are like Terminators, with some light anti-tank weapons, which is better than what Terminators get. They get better durability, and they don't have deep strike. They do cost a little bit more, the way things pan out. We get 2 Domitars. These are even more expensive Terminators, but they have missiles and they have Wrecker, so they can kind of, as you go through the book, as you go through the stat lines for these things, you're gonna see that they are pretty much always more expensive than some Marine equivalent. It's hard to put them to equivalents. They're more expensive, and they kind of do like, oh yeah, these guys' CAF is kind of good, and they've got good shooting, or their CAF is really good and they've got okay shooting. Like, it's never, typically it's, with other things, it's like, oh, Velatari, they're great in close combat because they have rend and their CAF is okay. The Ogren, their CAF is great and they have rend, and they have no shooting and no durability. They don't have health. And these guys are like, oh yeah, let's have that, but they're also going to be durable, and they're going to have health, and they're going to cost twice as much, right? So that's kind of the trend here. So the Domitars, even more expensive, but with missiles and wreckers, I already said that. We get 4 Destructor Hosts, and these guys, they've got strong shooting, they've got powerful anti-tank weapons. It's 4 up to hit, AP -2. It's like a short range. It's like short range Basilisk at that point, right? Like, the stats are the same otherwise. There's no, they need line of sight, but they're moving forward, and they've got okay CAF, +3, kind of nice, and they're expensive. They're 30 points for 2 of them. Secutor Host, these are also the Myrmidons, or however you're supposed to say that. They've got even stronger CAF of 6, which is like better than Dreadnoughts and stuff. They got decent anti-infantry guns. I think their guns are better than Terminator guns. Again, expensive. It's just their anti-infantry guns, but their CAF, they rip up tanks. and there are not as many of them, so you don't want them to get flooded. Tech thralls would probably take them out. Enough of them would take them out. And then we have tech priests. They're there to make they're there for cortex controller, but they make your vehicles harder to kill. They're battlesmith. They're repairing tanks and certain weapons that are shooting at your tanks. You're going to just, you've got an extra layer of defense against some things, not everything. We have the transport is the Triuros conveyor, and it's got lots of anti-tank weapons and a little bit of light. It's short range. You're comparing this to a Rhino. It's not quite as fast, but it's almost as cheap. It's 15 points a piece, and it's got great transport because it's a large 4. Oh, I thought I had to sneeze. It'll come back to me. So it can transport all these walkers, right? It can pretty much everything in this box can be transported by the conveyors, which is wild because there's some big models too, right? But they didn't make anything for them saying that they can't otherwise. So I don't know if that was intended. If these things just fold up like battle droids, and you slap them in there, and then they off to work they go. Ursarix are like assault marines. You get 4 of those. They cost more. But they've got better guns. They're just as good in close combat, but better guns. Just as much range, but better guns. It's assault marines that cost more and have better guns. The Vorax, they are, lots of light and light anti-tank guns. Previously, what was it? The Artilex had, I can't remember. Somebody's got a lot of light AT, and then maybe it was the Triers. It's got a lot of light AT and then 1 light gun. These guys have a lot of light guns and then 1 light AT gun. They're good in close combat. They're decent in close combat but they've got a 6-up save and they've got 2 wounds. So they're little sneaky guys and stuff. And the Voltrex are fast, but they're very short range. But they've got anti-tank and light anti-tank guns. And again, it's all 2 wound stuff too. So it's like 30 points for 2 wounds. On one guy. These are 35 points. And then you get your Thanatars, and they've either got Demolisher guns and some light AT guns that you're not really going to be shooting at the same thing, right? Because you're demolishing the building, you're not shooting the infantry. None of it has point defense. So you don't get that same benefit as like, some Demolisher Layman Russes, where you can have point defense on the guns and you can split fire. Or you're going to have Wrecker and Armor Bane. So you'll have a gun that can take out tanks fairly well, like a Vanquisher. It's a bit shorter range. And then you can also move up next to the building and punch it down. Or you've got Demolisher and you can just shoot the thing down. They're expensive. 110 points for 2 of them. They've got 2 wounds apiece, so they kind of each one of them and 4-up save. So they're different, very different. And that's the trend here. Everything's got it's got a good gun, it's got an okay gun with good calf, or it's got okay calf with good gun, or it's always durable. There's only a few things that aren't super durable. And by super durable, I mean twice as durable as anything else, right? All right, so let's get to the list. That was fun. That's what we got going on. So now that we have that in mind, we're going to start with a Tagma Sub-Covenant. Made-up words are fun to pronounce. So our compulsory spots are 2 core, 2 support, and an HQ, right? And what we're like I said earlier, everything's going to be Archmagos on Prime on Aberrant. And you're going to have 2 Tech Thrall Covenants that you have to have. That's just how it is. It has to be that way. One of them we're going to have 6. One of them's going to have 4, the minimum of 4. Put your Archmagos can go anywhere. Maybe put him in the Tech Thrall Covenant with 6, or maybe have him fly around going with somebody else, because his speed is only 6, and some of your stuff has a speed of 7. Some of your stuff has jump packs. The Aberrant doesn't have jump packs, so it's kind of tricky to put him where you're going to put him. But you can put him in that Tech Throw Covenant. I kind of like put him in the Tech Throw Covenant just because that's That's the same stat line that I'm used to putting my commanders for auxiliary, right? Is just a bunch of basic dudes with guns, and these are even more basic dudes with guns. They're so basic that they're not even coherent. And then we're going to have two support units. One's going to be that Secutor host, and one's going to be the Destructor host. Those guys have to go in this formation because the other formation can't have anything that doesn't have the Cortex controller or Cortex, the node, whatever it's called, where it needs to be controlled. So you're just going to put all of them, have 2 units, 1 unit, four Memorodon, 4 Destructors, and then 2 Secutors in your 2 formations there. And then we're going to put in our for this one. I had to do it this way. You're just putting all of your Thanatar into one formation. That's why this is the wrong way. Ideally, you would split them out. So just don't shoot at buildings. You're wasting so much firepower. That's 395 points of just like destroy tanks, right? All those guns are going to be able to destroy tanks just fine. But they're, if you shoot at a building, that's too much firepower on a building that you might not even kill. You might not even kill with them all. So just don't do that with this list. You're not destroying buildings. You can walk up to them and punch it if you want to. Just kill everything that's inside the building. You've got so much stuff that's good in close combat. Just walk up and punch it. And we're going to have all of our conveyors in here. And again, and you could put them in the other formation, but if you put a formation of 2, everything can have dedicated transports in this list, and you've also got a spot for just non-dedicated transports. But if you want to put, 2 of them will hold all of your tech thralls and your aberrant. Your aberrant could also just go with the Thanatar. They only have a move speed of 4. He'd kind of be slowed down by that. He's not going to get to use his gun, but he's got Battlesmith, so he'll keep them up. He'll try to keep them up better. You could put all your Thanatar into all 4 of the conveyors, or you could put the Memorodons into the conveyors. They can each go into a different one. You've got choices. You can even split up those Memorodons and put them, the Destructor host, you can have 2 different units of that. But because they've got they're the ones with guns, I thought, that's probably better just to have all 4 together. And then to finish this off, we're going to put our Warhounds in here. The Warhounds from the starter set don't have a lot of great options for weapons. Some of them are very close combat. The Neuralink, some of them really aren't that great. So decide how you want to do that. Maybe you got a friend who has the pack, or maybe you already have the regular Warhounds anyway, where you can use some Vulcan Mega Bolters and stuff. I would, if you could, I would do Swarmer missiles and Turbo Lasers. I don't like magnetizing them. But that's it, for a unit of 2 Titans that have to be grouped up, I would probably go that way. They can split fire though, so they can do whatever they want, but they're going to be nearish each other, so they're kind of going to have the same available targets. Let's move on to the next formation, which is going to be that Cybernetica cohort, and we have this again. It gives us a lot of places to put things, but also it gives us that boost to the Cortex controller. So that's where I put all of our tech priests. When you deploy when you're deploying though, you're able to split all your tech priests to go. You can have up to 3 of them into one support formation. You split them out and they go with different units. They have to go with a different unit. They have to go with a unit. They can't just be chilling by themselves. So you're going to have Archmagos Prime on Aberrant again, and you're going to have a Thalix cohort. And really, you could probably put all of your Thalix cohorts into one core detachment. I split them up into 3 detachments. I had 1 of 4 and then 2 of 2. We're trying to get some activations going on here, trying to get a better count with that. With all these Titans, we are sinking a lot of points, and the Thanatars, we're sinking a lot of points into what boils down to 3 formations. So we need to spread out our formations in other areas. You're going to have a support formation of your Castellex, and you're going to put all 4 of them in one go. And you're going to need to do it like that because we're running low on support slots. You're going to have your Domitars. You're going to have both of those go into one support formation as well. And then you're going to have and those are in your optional slots. And then you're going to have in the choice slots, it's 2 support slots or 2 Vanguard slots. So if you're doing the math and you're keeping up with this, you're already realizing that we are low on one or the other. We're either going to be short on Vanguard or we're going to be short on support slots. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take, I've chosen to take the support slots. And what you're going to do is you're going to put in your Artilex Battle Automata Maniples. You're going to have each of those Artilexes, because they're close combat and they want to charge in. I gave us different units to charge in. You can tie up different things. Put them up against tanks. Infantry are going to swarm these guys and are going to have a better chance of taking them down. Put them up against tanks, and now you start blowing up an expensive tank, tying up an expensive tank and keeping it from being able to do everything it wants to do. Do it that way. Or you can keep them together. It's the same either way. That's just the way I wanted to do it. And then for our last slot in this formation, we are going to make our first, and if you don't count the starter set, only purchase for this list. We are going to buy a Reaver Battle Titan. Make sure you get the right one. I went with the one that comes with the Apocalypse Missile Launcher, the Laser Blaster, and the Gatling Blaster, and that is because they've got better range, and all of the weapons can shoot different things. The other one, the other box, which is what I have here, this guy here, has a Melta Cannon, and then it's got the Volcano Cannon or the Chain Fist. And I put a Chain Fist on it because it's a really short range gun and a really short range, close combat. I didn't want to have the Volcano Cannon on there because it's a very long range gun and it's not really the right weapon profiles. And I kind of feel like when you can only shoot or engage in close combat, you're really limited in your options. And I feel like that was the wrong choice that I put on there. So I'm not really a fan of that box as much as I am the other one, which I do need to get so that I can actually make it. So we're going to put that guy in there. And the Apocalypse Missile Launcher is going to provide a lot of shots to thin out the enemy and put some damage on them. Next, for the rest of for our last choices that we couldn't fit into those first 2 formations, we're going to use a support formation. We're going to use the Itinerant Cybernetica Cohort. And it has either 3 support slots or 3 Vanguard slots, and we are going to use Vanguard slots. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a detachment of 1 Voltrex, and we're going to do that twice so that we use both of those Voltrexes. And then we're going to have the detachment of our Voraxes, and that's just going to have both of them in there. And these guys, now they can kind of operate independently. They don't really care about the Cybernetica Cortex anymore. They can't even use it, actually. So they can go and do whatever they want, wherever they want to, and they're going to use each other to play some little games and switch each other's orders around. And that's, the enemy won't really be able to quite tell what's going on with them. If we had more, if you wanted to even, you could take some support. Take some of your support automata and put them into the optional slots so that you give yourself more orders to work with for that. And you have a wider range of what's available to them. But I didn't feel like that was necessary for the purpose of this. And we also are just so limited on one battle group is not a lot of mechanicum to work with. You really need to have 2, maybe even 3. I might go for 3, but one of mine's also going to be loyalist, and I'll be using 2 as 2 of them will be as traitors. So, and that's just so that Crayola has something to play with. Crayola has the option to play with either or. All right. For our huge mistake that we're putting into this list, we are going to use as much of the starter set as we can. We already used the Warhounds. Great, fantastic. Let's see what we can get in with our Solar Auxiliary. We're just going to try to go as minimum as we can with it. And I put in the Tactical Command. It's going to be a sub-cohort. A lot of use of the word cohort now with the mechanicum, and then the one time that it's used for the Solar Auxiliary. You're going to have that Tactical Commander and then 2 Las Tertios. And we ended up with, the list comes out to 2,999. So there was 12 points left over before that, and 13 points left over. We used 12 of them to put in 2 flamers in one of the tertios, and you can throw your tactical commander in there to clear that out. To keep it cheaper, we're going to use the Velitary Storm section for that support slot, and we are going to put in our Malkador Tank Squadron, as well as the, because they got 2 wounds, as well as the Auxilia Atheon Heavy Sentinels, and we're going to have all 4 of them in there. There's no room for the Layman Russes. You could put in the Layman Russes instead of the Malkadors if you also take out the auxiliaries with flamers, which isn't a bad idea. But how you're going to use these Malkadors is you're going to put heavy bolters on them, all the heavy bolters, and then put your you can either put Vanquisher cannons if you wanted to, or you can put the las cannon turret on there. And what you're going to do is you're going to move this forward, and you've got point defense to clear things out, because there's not a lot of point defense in anything else in this list. So that's how you want to use those guys. And then we're going to come to the Legion Demi Company. And for this, if you want to use your favorite Legion, if you want me to tell you what to use, though, I would either say put down Space Wolves so that you have something to block infiltrators, or go with Emperor's Children so that you can try to grab yourself first turn initiative on one of the turns. That's the way I would go for this. If I'm only splicing in a unit of Space Marines, and I'm only really even doing it just to use all the models I have, that's what I would do. But whatever you got laying around is just as good as the next thing. You're just going to have a Legion Commander, your 2 tactical detachments, and your Dreadnought. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have the Sicarians, and that is going to be your anti-aircraft. And that's the only way that you can... Those and the Sentinels are really the best anti-aircraft that you're going to be able to get like this. The alternative is just you need to get either a Legion Garrison Force or a Pioneer Company, and to do that, you're going to need the infantry that you have from the starter set. So you have to have a starter set regardless, right? And then you're going to need to get yourself the support box so that you can get those tarantulas. And if you only care about the tarantulas, just go for you get more of them with the auxiliary ones, so just go with that. And then you can add an aircraft with that too. You're going further away from, and you're going to be using less, you're going to have more models on the shelf. You're going to be using less of your starter set. But at this point though, I imagine a lot of you already have stuff, right? So if you've already got stuff, you've got a lot more options available to you than this. Use this as a baseline, use this as a starter, and go from there. If you're just starting because you saw Mechanicum and you said, now I'm ready to play this game, now I'm ready to get in this game, now that it's not just 2 factions, then this list is going to be more, this was built more for you. Those are things that you might need, you might want to get in the future, that support box so that you can have those anti-aircraft guns, or ignore them. It's everything I see, ignoring aircraft is just bad. It doesn't end well. You need to get some for yourself, or you need to have the ability to kill it. And aside from just shooting them and hoping for 6s with a lot of stuff in your list, it's going to be tough. And everything for Mechanicum costs more than, you're paying a premium so that your guys can be good at anything, and they're not the best at anything in particular. So keep that in mind, so splicing in, hopping in, dipping your toe into one of the other factions so that you can fill in those gaps is going to pay off well. It's just going to take more models that you might not already have. So that's my thoughts on this. That's how I'm putting this together. Tell me what you think. Let me know. How'd you like it? And what are you doing instead? I started building my guys. I only have the infantry left to build. and then I can start painting whenever. But I started to paint. I started to paint the last sets of. I got 2 super heavies I'm working on, and then I'm gonna be doing. I'm building along the side. You know, sometimes I just want to build something. I don't want to sit down and paint. I'm building some knights, and I'm gonna be painting those up soon. And you know that was what was voted on, so that's what I'm going with. But I might not do all of the nights before I start to make some other stuff. You know, I really kind of want to have this mechanicum stuff on the table. But it might not be fair to make Crayola start playing mechanicum, because they are a harder faction to play. I hope you're still watching to the end of this video where you get to this part. They are a handicap of a faction. They have a higher pilot level, right? They're harder to play with, because in being able to do 2 things good, close combat and shooting are, you do one or the other. You don't get to do both. The only time you can do both is if the other guy, you're ready to shoot, the other guy charges you, and now you can, if you kill him, you can then shoot something else. That's the only time you're going to get to do both. So you're paying a premium to be able to do everything, instead of just doing your thing, right? In that regards, a cheaper assault legionnaire detachment that can still do the close combat job, and then something else that can do the shooting job, is better value. So trying to play both at the same time is going to be harder, and that's what you're looking at. But yeah, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you are liking this content, and if you have any feedback that you want to leave below, let me know. I'm always looking happy to read what you guys say, and I hope you guys have fun painting and fun playing this game. This has been Eagle Spire Gaming. Thanks for flying by.